All right, welcome to Servant Leadership Library, where we're not just stacking books on dusty shelves, we're stacking up wisdom from leaders who serve first and lead always. I'm your host, Nicholas Paulukow, CEO of One-to-One, managed IT and security firm that keeps businesses running smoothly, because let's face it, turning it on and off again doesn't always get us so far. So today we're cracking open a chapter with a man who builds more than houses, but builds hope. Joining me is Andrew Szalay, President and CEO of Lancaster-Lebanon Habitat for Humanity. He's a devoted family man, a housing advocate, and the kind of leader who knows that the strongest foundations aren't just poured in concrete, they're laid in community. So grab your library card. This is going to be a story worth checking out. All right, Andrew, it's wonderful to have you today. And, why don't you tell our audience just a little bit of your story, your journey, maybe what led you to the Lancaster-Lebanon, Habitat for Humanity?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Nick, for inviting me on to be part of this conversation. I think it's episode 38 or something?
38, yeah.
And normally when I'm calling up and I'm calling you or checking in, one-to-one or somebody here, Ryan or whatever, I'm usually just calling, hey, it's Andrew from Habitat. So that introduction was really nice and kind of giving me a big picture of things and what the heck I do here. We try to keep it very, very flat with the organization, although it's been growing with Habitat and more hierarchy and so forth. So we got layers that we probably didn't, or maybe need to actually acknowledge we have these days so we can all be a little bit clear how we do our work, which means a little more leadership skills and formality and stuff.
Okay.
But I came here 8 years ago.
Okay.
Actually, it's today's the 22nd. I moved up here for my first day of work on August 28th. That was when I moved to Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I was going to be staying in an Airbnb, working for my predecessor as director of operations to help run the affiliate, restart the mortgage program, work with the staff and so forth. So just kind of, giving some structure again to the organization when we were back just around the corner here over on Fairview Avenue.
Absolutely. We're neighbors.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we still got the space and we're looking forward to hopefully building on it now that we've moved over.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's a nice little lot there. We've got some options we're looking at, like how much we can put on, but we'll wait and see how that one goes.
As a kid, that's where we went to rent tools that we wanted to rent.
I heard that was a Fairview Rental.
Fairview Rental. That's where you went as a kid, I'm telling you. Yeah.
And we got it from the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Lancaster. Around 2000 or 1999, somewhere around there.
Okay.
We've owned it free and clear, so it's been a very good financial investment for us.
Absolutely.
But when it was Fairview Rental, it was just a space that was made for like 2-3 employees with a lot of showrooms and the tools and so forth, right?
Yeah, right.
And that garage. And garage was great. We had a little room that really couldn't fit the whole board in it. It was windowless.
Okay.
It just was, everyone was living on top of each other in cubes, but not in a comfortable way, sweet way,
Right.
So recently, we were just talking about before this that we moved into the new space, combined everything with the restore. We're all under one roof, all departments, construction, our program, fundraising, administration. So we've got about 26 people, I think, in total, including part-timers. And
it's a beautiful building.
Yeah,
it's like a showcase when you pull up.
Yeah, I'm humbled by this, and from humble roots with a nonprofit, especially a Habitat organization that came from all volunteer. It's some people call it the Taj Mahal of Habitat Resource, and I'm like just a little sheepish about it because I'm like, this makes a lot of sense for the business, makes a lot of sense for the staff, but I'm like, I don't know if I want everybody that's supporting us. But the result is there've been a lot of people proud. In fact, they've even brought the founders of the organization, a lot of past volunteers. And they see the number of houses, and that's probably the most important thing. They see the number of lives and the houses that we're building, and they come see the shop, and they're proud, and they feel like it's got that stability to be able to keep carrying on. So.
That's amazing. So you said 8 years ago, right?
Yeah, so 8 years ago.
And what drew you to this area to run?
Oh, sure. So I was working for the previous 15 years in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
I left Buffalo, New York, where I grew up, to work for my local congressman from Buffalo, Western New York, and spent 5 years working there. I actually moved out of Buffalo without a job, just looking for anything until I can go back to grad school. It was what I was thinking at the time. And then I had this amazing adventure of, hey, I get to work on Capitol Hill. I wasn't planning on it. I was going to work for a little shop, policy shop of some kind. And they gave me the housing portfolio. And then I, after several years, I wanted to marry somebody, my wife Natalie, and start a family and stuff, and needed to increase my salary. So I doubled it overnight when I went to a trade association called Mortgage Bankers.
Okay.
Again, housing, resident. But then there was the credit crisis, foreclosure crisis, became credit crisis, the Great Recession. So it was an amazing time to be there. And mortgage licensing, residential foreclosure issues across the country. And I got to travel a bit to work with lenders and policymakers across the country. So, and after becoming exhausted from that, and not only seeing my family on the weekends, we were looking for some kind of change. And I knew my predecessor here, Stacey Ridenbaugh, who's with 10,000 Friends now. She hired me to help out with, again, the mortgage program and some other things, because we're a mortgage lender at Habitat for Humanity. We build first, but then that's how you fund the projects and the home buying opportunities for our families, our low-income families, and then you make the mortgage. And we're licensed just like every other mortgage bank, but we're serving the Habitat homebuyers that come into our special purpose program.
I see. Has that become more difficult with the cost of building materials and everything go up? Has that been harder for the people to get to their home experience?
I would say it's gotten harder for everyone that wants to become a first-time homebuyer, period. For our Habitat homebuyers, we only have so many homes that we can build with the amount that our donors and our funders at large. And that goes for our previous Habitat homeowners that are paying their mortgage, because that goes into the mission. The restore profit, or as we call it, the net, or not profit, that funds about a house a year. To be able to help us plan for the buildings, next couple of years, because you got to get it all planned out before you start putting something out there for early fundraising. And then the fundraising opportunities from individual donors, businesses, churches, foundations, government, and so forth. So we'll apply for all of that sort of stuff to be able to layer it in and make it impactful.
Is it always like a new build, or is there renovations too?
We do both. So we'll do rehabs, housing preservation, making preserving old affordable homes. And Pennsylvania has some very old homes. Most of the country, the average age of a house is 17 years old. We're 67 in Pennsylvania. So as you can imagine, because we have a lot of 100, 120-year-old homes, so it's very important that we're doing the housing preservation work. But we do new development too. In fact, we just finished 4 new builds out in Columbia. We're building 5 more just across from Turkey Hill Experience. I'm planning for an 8-unit condominium, a very small but a very important condominium complex, part of the College Avenue HDC.
That's nice.
UPMC Medical Campus there.
So many great things happen in there. Milagro House is an organization that we support and help, and they're excited to move in there. And HDC as an organization, it's just amazing to see how Lancaster County is such a cosm of coming together, whereas I find many other areas when I travel seems to be like, well, we want individual success, where it seems like in Lancaster County, we're very much about collective success, which is pretty neat.
No, it's been a while since I actually lived in Buffalo. My family's still up there, but I felt like even when I was going to college at Canisius, and a lot of the community was very competitive still, even among the nonprofits. There was a Habitat affiliate, was small at the time, and others. There wasn't as much collaboration. It was kind of just it wasn't the same when I was comparing communities back in the DC area, looking up to come here. The collaboration and the innovative work that some of these nonprofits and the number of nonprofits that have all come out have been really impressive. I was really impressed or interested in the fact that LHOP, Tenfold, and Lancaster Area Habitat for Humanity, which became Lancaster-Lebanon, all had roots from Highland Presbyterian Church.
Really? Wow. And so Samaritan Center, that is Samaritan Counseling, comes out of Highland as well.
There you go.
Wow.
There's 4.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, great leaders out of there.
Absolutely. It continues to grow, and it has such an entrepreneurial spirit, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, and it was interesting. We had a guest on before that was from the High Foundation, and she was speaking about their mission also has been based around housing as well, which we found quite interesting, and their reach is starting to look out of all the areas that they work. So it seems like we're having a lot more conversation around housing. But I guess you're saying the unfortunate part is the cost is still pretty high.
So back to that. The cost of housing has obviously gone up. Average housing prices as of the month of July 2025, we've reached a national peak, and that goes for the same area, both where we serve Lancaster-Lebanon, both our counties. They have reached all-time highs when it comes to the average sale price of a home. So that I think is approached well over, I can't remember the exact number, 250 some thousand dollars, maybe 270. But regardless, it puts it more out of reach, especially if you want to be a first time home buyer and now you're paying 7% when just 5 years ago interest rates were about 3%.
Right.
7% is still historically low, but it's relative to our recent experience of what we deem to be expensive, the debt to income ratio. And now interest rates, of course, were once 18%. That's very, very, hard to fathom. And I think today we would be, flabbergasted by that. But that, again, it's kind of like a recent experience. 7%, though, is a barrier, and there aren't as many properties available. Pennsylvania is, out of 50 states, 45th or about 44 or 45th of the country in adding new units and housing to the state. And Pew just put a study out about that, and they ranked us there and said it was mainly because of the local zoning restrictions. So those are real problems.
Wow.
So
and do you see the rates like city living prior to COVID seems somewhat reasonable, like that a home you could get, in some places for $150,000, and it seems like those homes now are double or even triple that sometimes.
Yeah.
That has made such a big change in the cost of homes? Like, what's the big driver to that from your perspective?
It's scarcity. It's fundamentally just a scarcity. There's enough demand for it, but there's also enough wealth for people that do have the means to go ahead and buy. For example, if you've got some older Americans that want to be able to just relocate within the county. I'm not even talking about people moving, because most of the household formation, the pressure in this county, according to I think EDC and some of the others, is that it's happening within the county. It's mostly the birth and so forth and family formation. There is some moving in, and that's what people like to think about, but that's not actually the real pressure. It's almost like we're outgrowing our own sense.
Really?
I mean, the Lancaster County planners have said that it really is a metro county. We have a lot of agriculture, but it is still much more metropolitan than people probably realize. And it is what it is. People love living here. We have a lot of services. We have a lot of great businesses, a lot of great employers, and we have a lot of great farms. And trying to mesh it all together, that puts a lot of demand right now.
Right.
So that scarcity and the zoning restrictions. How big is the lot size? Is that minimum lot size commensurate with what should be affordable and manageable? Taxes and so forth, but also what is that minimum square footage for the house? If you're making them too big, then they're going to cost much more. Back in the 50s and 60s, when we were doing post-World War II housing, you would hear about these 2 and 3 bedroom homes. It'd be like 1,200 and 1,500 square feet. That was actually a pretty flexible household, because you can get all the boys and girls in one room and so forth, raise them all up, and then after they move out, it becomes the craft room, it becomes the office and so forth. It's a very flexible space, and it didn't need to be that large.
Right.
Builders today, however, the for-profits, probably goes for us too in some ways, but it's only really profitable if you're making the larger home.
Really?
Because we're only doing a house at a time. Now, if we were doing major subdivisions, like we were in the 50s and 60s with those developments, it would be a lot different, because you had a construction industry that had a lot more employees and others coming in to help stage it. You had specialists that were just about the foundation. You had specialists that were just about the framing and so forth. I think we still have that today, but nowhere near that scale that made it really affordable. You could build that, as people might say, tract housing or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you talked about that the lifeblood of the organization is the volunteers, right? How does that work, right? I mean, like, building a house is a pretty technical thing, right? So, like, how do you get a group of volunteers together and build a home?
Yeah.
I mean, that seems very technical.
So, when I was at Habitat for Humanity International, I worked in the DC office. Somebody whispered to me, "It's the most inefficient way to build a house." But that's not really the point. And that's absolutely right. Because our mission statement is seeking to put God's love into action. Habitat for Humanity brings people together to build homes, community, and hope. And that bringing together piece is something that's always important to me. And we'll never get away from that volunteer aspect, both at the resort and our construction sites. Because what it does, is it gets people out from sometimes the neighborhoods that they may never have gone into in there and see the humanity with the home buyer, with the neighbors in that community and contributing. So that's like non-negotiable for us in a lot of ways, just on a mission wise. But building a home with volunteers these days, we have a lot fewer skilled contractors than we did back in the 90s. So we did Lancaster Area Habitat built a subdivision, Emerald Valley, Euclid Street, 62 homes, not too far from here.
Yeah.
62.
Wow.
So it was like 31 duplexes.
Okay.
A property for 61 units. And we had a lot. It was, I think they only had 2 employees during most of that tenure when they built it. So it was a fundraiser administrator, executive director type, and a construction supervisor. Wow. And that construction supervisor was yet leveraging the talent of other construction companies and volunteers from all these churches, mostly building on Saturdays, not exclusively, but mostly Saturdays, to hammer those properties out.
Well, you build it and then you have to get inspections and all that. That's got to be an absolute scheduling crisis.
Yes. Yes. In fact, it's I'd almost say it's almost gotten worse over the last several years because of the especially building in both of the cities, Lancaster and Lebanon, maybe even the borough with Columbia too, because we've gotten so much more regulation. Okay. We're actually a lot smarter than we were back in the night, and I mean more intelligent in terms of what we demand of building standards and so forth. Okay. And for those inspections. Okay. I mean, everything's just safer what we're building. Although
we have hurricane straps here. I think the whole building, if it lifts off, it's going to be held up by these straps.
Sure, yeah, exactly. Which will be also probably helpful for a sinkhole. So
hopefully
it'll like just the steel beams will
just hold it up.
Right? Never mind. So it's one of these things that run through my mind anxiously building in Pennsylvania. So, but no, anyway, today we have a 3-person construction team. We have 2 people out in the field. One of them is our director, and we have a project manager that runs the interference and schedules and budgets and so forth, and kind of the administrative side. And a lot of people, coordinating volunteers and stuff in the background with the families and stuff. But it's a lot of coaching and mission focus. What's the goal for today and so forth. Safety first. Safety these days is also like, hey, you need to be able to feel safe and comfortable. If you feel uncomfortable, then you do not need to feel you need to continue. In fact, I think it gives a lot more people the confidence of maybe, the safety gloves make it feel a little cumbersome to work with this, even though it's probably a smarter way to do it. But if they feel they got more control the other way, that might be better for them. So let's have a conversation with our staff about those sort of things. But they're going to be learning how to deframe it. I was just up at a build up in Lebanon yesterday, a Walnut, and this is a old, large, I almost want to call it like a Victorian row house in the city. Okay. It's even got pocket doors.
Does it really? Oh, that's awesome.
I saw it when
it was great trim and everything.
Yeah, yeah. We had to pull a lot of it out, but we're keeping the bones of it. In fact, I saw it was all black and terribly water damaged. And yesterday I got to see it where there's a lot of fresh beams that have been completely replaced. And wow. So our team, our home buyers, because they're earning their sweat equity in the projects, and our volunteers are, putting all these pieces into place. They're learning the bulkheads around the door frames and so forth.
Now, how do you become a home buyer through your program? Like, is there certain requirements?
Yes. So first of all, our applications are all closed right now. What we do is we open applications for brief periods of time. We well publicize them. We just opened it up for Lebanon home buyers recently. Okay. We had 2 homes to fill. We didn't have home buyers for yet. And for Lebanon home ownership opportunities, we opened the applications for a week. We got 96 applications back in, I think, April. Wow. Once we look through all the applications on their income eligibility, we verify everything. Okay. So they have to be 40 to 80% of the area median income. Okay. So that's roughly about $27,000 to about $68,000 a year for a family of 4. Okay. They have to don't need a minimum credit score, but we need to make sure that they're more or less their debt's consolidated. They have to be able to repay a mortgage. Right. Okay. They're not going to repay a mortgage that's more than 30% of gross income. In fact, we underwrite at 28% for a little buffer going into things. But that 30% of your gross income is widely accepted as that's affordable. Interestingly, 1 out of 8 households in Pennsylvania are paying more than 50% of their gross income. So that's cost burden. Yeah, that's not good. And that's one of the things we're fighting against. That's what our purpose. And then, of course, we love the idea of not just affordable housing, but affordable home ownership to build up that wealth. Well, and then, of course, they need to be able to demonstrate their need for housing. Is their current rental safe, warm, and dry? And that helps us make a priority list of who we're going to be serving. I'm expecting, and this is no idea because this could blow my mind, right? I'm expecting out of 96 applications to about 16 to 20 Habitat home buyers out of that pool. The rest we're going to continue to work with and see if we can get them to later on or talk to them and so forth, what they can do. You're working with financial literacy, us tenfold, and other HUD counselors and so forth.
And do you find, have you ever had a home buyer that then becomes on more hard times and can't afford to pay for the housing that they have? How does that work?
That definitely happens from time to time. We're dealing with, and you think about it too, in terms of the market of just the income level. So we're talking low income families that may have had less savings and cash reserves or availability of better insurance and so forth. So yes, we definitely have these things. The most important thing for them to do, and we tell them this all the time, is reach out to us beforehand. Let's talk about it.
Right.
We can do workouts. We can, pause
Let's not
things.
make it a surprise type.
Yeah. In fact, one of the beauties of our program, and Northwest Bank, by the way, is our servicer for them. And it helps us manage the escrow because we do escrow for tax and insurance.
Okay.
So they manage that, and then we're on the hook in the meantime because they will advance those taxes and insurance in the case of a delinquency.
So you're almost like the cosigner.
In a way.
Yeah.
Actually, I would put it more like for these first-time home buyers that make it through the program, maybe when you bought your house, when I bought my first place, I had a down payment assistance from my father-in-law. He was very generous with, but I remember if it was $10,000 or $17,000 or $20,000. I don't remember. But it made it possible.
Right.
I ended up having to get mortgage insurance. I didn't have to. Now, these are families are coming to us that do not have that uncle, grandparent, or great aunt that is willing to help out or able to help out. What they're able to do is put that sweat equity into volunteer hours, and they come out and help out and build sites too. So that's where we come in. So as a cosigner, we're investing in them and our success. Actually, Nick, there's one great thing I was talking about those volunteer hours.
Yeah.
And the success of a Habitat family. So once they're in the program and they get the deed to the house, they get their mortgage signed off, they make their payments and stuff. One of my board members who works for a hospital or used to work for a hospital in management said if we could get to 50% success rate, that was good in healthcare and so forth, some of their programs. Kind of disappointing in a way, but interesting and notable. And when he heard that our default rate, how many homeowners are in the program, in their Habitat home, don't make it. Deed in lieu, risk of foreclosure. We try to avoid foreclosure for their sake too, at all cost. It doesn't always work out. Definitely had them. But try to work to a deed in lieu or some other workout, and maybe even a mortgage modification, get it back on track and so forth. We have 97% success rate.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, when he heard that,
yeah,
he actually said, I want to get more involved.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the hours, right? So is the hours considered like equity in the property or just a requirement to purchase?
It's more like your interest in a lot of ways.
Okay.
We have a 1% down payment.
Okay.
Of the mortgage price, but we charge 250 sweat equity hours from the home buyer for a single head of household.
Wow.
We've got about 60% single moms right now in our program, and so if you have a double head of household, it's 400 hours.
I see. That's amazing, though.
Yeah.
It just gets them kind of committed into understanding. And when you build
Exactly.
something that you now own, it's pretty amazing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like I
Vested
think that's just
interest.
amazing. You're really vested in it, right?
You're going to be part of that community. And the other thing is, if one important interesting thing about the program, and this is one of the superpowers our donors are really, really great about embracing with us, is our build projects sometimes cost more and get appraised for more than what the family can possibly afford. So what does that mean? Well, we actually put in, because we don't want to leave exposed equity.
Okay.
Gotta leave it up to predatory lending and
Right.
stuff. So we could put in a subordinate mortgage. We're assuming it's going to vanish and they're going to earn it back like appreciation over the years.
Right.
But we can put a gap there. So if they get the house, a mortgage, $180,000 over 30 years, and the house was appraised at $200,000, that $20,000 will put another lien on.
Wow. Okay.
That after 5 years, it starts diminishing 1/25 every year.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. As they pay it back, they can earn that as appreciation basically in the process. So
they have to be so thankful to have the opportunity to, 1% down, right?
Yeah.
So they have to put something in,
yes,
but the ability to have something on their own has to be an amazing thing.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm first generation in this country, so when my parents got
That's
here,
right.
My dad and his family had nothing. So like, it was, my dad always taught me, I think I've said this before, like the ability to work hard, your faith and your ability to work hard. And he said, if you have those two things, you'll be fine. We'll figure it out. But there was no uncle or aunt that was like, hey, here's a down payment, right?
Sure.
And so they had to learn the only way that my parents got a home was because of my grandmother. My grandmother moved here and had a little bit of money and said, I'll give you the money to build the house as long as I can live there. And so outside of that, they wouldn't have had the opportunity to be a homeowner.
That's a great partnership.
So it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I get my grandmother to live with us. I was the youngest, out of these huge families. But
how big was the family?
My mom's family is quite large, like 9 brothers and sisters, and tons of cousins and aunts and uncles, and so amazing. But my dad's side, there's about 5 of them, so they're the only ones here in the United States. The rest of our family is in Poland.
I've got older brother and sister, and my wife is a single, only child. So
that's got to be different.
We look around. We've got 2 kids now, and we look around at some of these larger families. It's beautiful, different.
It is, isn't it? My wife comes from 5 brothers and sisters, and she's the youngest. So there's a way different. There's 38 of us when we get together. It's just family, right? Because it's their kids and everything.
Sure.
And so it's way different. It's just my sister and I. Yeah. And I'm like, it's a lot quieter when we're together.
It's the thing with Habitat is also with the home buyers and the volunteers. We all came from all volunteer roots, right? And it's a family culture. We choose to be there. The staff chooses to be there. It's nonprofits who are taking you're not getting paid the for-profit rates. You're doing this because you want to help out and do something meaningful in a different way. And the volunteers are the same way. They're giving of their time extra above and beyond, or their retirements and so forth, helping out the restore and the builds. And I think that family culture is also kind of like the way we see our community. And we need to kind of keep giving people the opportunities for doing something new, learning something new, contributing. And it's just that's a big thing about the Habitat movement. I think that's really common. There's 1,000 of us across the country, and then we're in 70 countries worldwide. Wow. There's some that are like the UK. It's a donor country where they're not building, but they're supporting builds in Africa and India and so forth.
We'll talk about the restore, like that location. We had an employee that would get up at like 5 a.m. to go there, and we never knew. And we're like, what are you doing? And they're like, I love to volunteer my time here. And I'm like, well, you can let us know, because we do like volunteer time. Like, you don't have to get up at 5 a.m. But it was like a passion for him to do that. So tell the audience a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, our restore is the 4th in the country. Edgar Stace, late Edgar Stace, he helped insist or guide us along to get Richard Good and a handful of other folks to help establish one of the early restores.
Okay.
And the notion was when Habitat for Humanity started under Millard Fuller and Jimmy Carter started, the big movement and the growth in the 80s. We started in 86 and Lebanon County started in 1990 and we merged in 2016. But around 99 or 2000, we opened our restore for the purpose of adding the organizational capacity. And I think Mike Muma, if I recall correctly, said we wanted the store to be able to fund either a house every year or it might have been all the administrative costs, something along those lines. I can't remember what the formula was in those days. Now we're measuring it purely in terms of a house.
Wow.
Right? What it really allows, and it does build a house, but doesn't get earmarked to like one specific address, because what really it allows is the superpower of having the cash available before we need to fundraise for it.
Okay.
For instance, land development, or we're doing something new. I'm doing the Wheatland project, which is part of the whole UPMC medical campus around College Ave, to do the 8 condos. And I got to invest in, or Habitat has to invest in the stormwater testing,
site work, and all that
stuff. And architectural. I mean, we will be putting in probably about 200,000 plus,
right,
before we ever put a shovel in the ground.
And banks don't seem to love all the stuff that's underground.
Exactly. That is for sure. And there's not a lot of infrastructure on this site. So we've got a lot of thought and planning in the process. And if anyone's listening from that neighborhood, we're going to be having a neighborhood meeting about this soon. I'm just waiting to wrap up one big detail in the whole thing for you guys so you can brief you fully. So I'll be the third or fourth community meeting. Anyhow, so the restore allows us that cash flow.
Okay.
Fundraising may come and go. The mortgage income's very steady. But we need to be able to have the good solid cash position so that we're able to, leapfrog in a way so we can plan for later on. Because the real fundraising, we can do grants like I'd say maybe 12 months early or 18 months the most. Because they usually they want you paying for whatever the grant is,
right,
a certain time period or calendar year or something like that. But the restore allows us that unrestricted cash to be able to revolve around there. Okay. And not to mention the funds that come in for the projects can go right into the build project itself. So
that's a whole different ball of wax, building from the ground up. I mean, where we were here, we built twice. And there was no site work here, right? Yeah. So it was an experience, right? I learned more than I probably needed to know about geothermal textile filtration beds. I'm like, it doesn't need to withstand going to NASA, like it's just water.
Permeation
help me
tests.
Out, right? 100-year flush, Right. But there's a lot of work to be involved in that, and it takes time. You're right. So you have a lot of probably things happening at one time.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about leadership a little bit from the, you're doing a lot of like technical things, banking and building, right? But you're also kind of leading a nonprofit, right? So what's your leadership style? How do you maybe employ kind of that servant leadership style in your role?
I think my staff would say I wing it a lot.
Are you all right? Fair enough. That's honest.
And I'm sorry, guys. I definitely try to embrace that Habitat family culture. Mm-hmm. In fact, we were talking about just recently with Work Wisdom and Kedra and Sarah Colatonio about the notion of like, should we move to more of a hierarchy or market based in the future? And that's something we're talking about. But I think we need to inject pieces of that, but keep that family culture, for example, because it's all about the empowerment of those individuals that choose to be there. The most important thing, I think, with Habitat, and this could be different, like if I was running my brother runs our family business back in Buffalo, electrical stuff. But I think for Habitat, it's like sharing the power is really critical because it is volunteer. People want the opportunity to contribute and have impact.
Mission,
Yes. And I think that goes from board member volunteers, committee members to be able to have a say. And they often say, and this just happens, we're doing some interviews to hire some new positions or fill some vacancies. And I'm often reminded, "What's your decision, Andrew?" And I'm like, Yeah, I really do want your input because you understand the fundraising side. You actually better than I do in some ways because this is what you do as a consultant in your business all the time. They're volunteering their time to help us out. And the same thing goes with the rest of the team. Ben and Sam run the Restore, and they know better than anyone else.
Right.
I want to be able to give them the confidence to be able to, say what's going on, but I really want to know what's going on day to day. How is your team doing? Nathan and Amy in fundraising, she just left, but what is it in their program area and with their team that they need more authority to be able to be successful and so forth? What knowledge they need, what technology they need, sometimes software or whatever. Definitely got a lot more software these days.
I bet you do, yeah.
And what is it that they need to be empowered and so forth. So I think that in fact there's a book called Forces for Good by McLeod and Crutchfield. And I was lucky enough to get a class with Crutchfield not too long ago. And one of the 6 things on what makes a really successful, impactful nonprofit is that power sharing. And I could definitely say it's a strength probably of any good Habitat for Humanity affiliate. So, in fact, being the servant leader, being that is really being the humble leader of just kind of bringing the right skill set and experts, because you do need somebody that really knows construction. You need somebody that's going to know the mortgage side of finance. You're going to need somebody that's going to know finance and accounting. And it might be a volunteer. It might be somebody on staff. It might be a consultant. It might vary in a lot of ways. You need somebody that knows communication. Again, it might be a volunteer, might be staff. It might be a combination of things. I know a little bit to be dangerous in a lot of things, but that's not... I don't pretend to be, and I don't think any of us usually pretend to be the master.
That's right. We have our superpowers in many areas, but not all.
Yeah. As I know my team will tell me too.
Well, you mentioned it's kind of like a faith-based organization, right?
It is.
How does that play into hiring and leading as well, right?
Officially, it doesn't.
Okay.
Actually, quick aside, one of my favorite conversations, we're meeting with Shirai Shemoyim congregation downtown, and talking about partnering on a bill and getting regular volunteer groups, and they're there actually all this week. They're up on their build up in Lebanon right now, regularly, but they're there this week, and they asked me at the end of the meeting, so what is your faith requirement? And I go, there isn't one, because the real truth of the matter is Habitat for Humanity started, I'm Catholic, by the way. It got started by a bunch of Protestants.
Oh no! I'm a Catholic boy too,
and I grew up in a Word of Faith
just
background.
7 different, a set of stories were removed out of the Bible.
Sure,
but we're different, a little different.
Exactly. So actually, it started by Millard Fuller, Protestant, and it started this amazing movement across the country, and it was a whole federated, different logos, structure, but it had kind of like same truths of, sweat equity, affordable mortgage, build a house, that sort of thing, need for housing, and the I'm actually losing my track of thought here.
Oh, we were in the faith-based aspect
the faith-based.
of that.
So what it really comes down to is the fact that his mission, his whole vision, and this is something I feel very strongly about these days, is we want to be able to show God's love, and we want to be able to shine light, whether you think that's something religious or not. And I believe that the only way that man can see God's light, now shy of miracles and wonders, is through what I do. And
you live your purpose.
Yeah. I hire people that can do the job, that want to do this housing mission to help have better human outcomes. The better human outcomes. We do it through housing. We don't do it through food. We don't do it through clothing. We have the shelter mission. And we've chosen, because we're in America, it's a home ownership focus. Because that wealth building is very, very important to be participating in this economy. And that's how we can build wealth and get more involved, so you can have generational
and give an independence.
Impact. Yes.
Right? The ability
that's a huge
to
thing
have
for it.
Huge independence.
Huge part of it. Financial literacy and having some assets. are key things for you to be able to be successful in this country, frankly.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you do also education. So when they're purchasing the home, you're teaching them also about
Correct.
finance and other things. Tell us
Yes.
a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we have a financial literacy program with our home buyers. They do a certain number of sweat equity hours, basically, that ends up being in the classroom.
Okay.
Right now, we're actually partnering up with Truist on monthly
Really? That's neat.
English and Spanish webinars. We just had the first one this past Wednesday. We're going to do the next one in September and run through, I think, at least January, if not March.
Wow.
Very good program where they're going through the whole process of home ownership, finances, banking, and a lot of other tools. So I'm hoping we have more participation than just our Habitat home buyers, which are core and need to have the program. Right. But this is beneficial. I think even if you think you know some of these things, you might not.
Right.
So it's well worth taking the time to go do that. In fact, when I was back in Washington, D.C., and I was working with the Mortgage Bankers Association, I did, what was it, though? I can't remember the name of the program all of a sudden. One of those volunteer programs where you go into schools and you're doing some early financial literacy application.
I did that years ago. Oh, man.
I can't remember the name.
They have you build pens and learn about...
something like that. It's got a clever little name. Anyway, a lot of people in banking do this. And I went and did that several times. Really, really enjoyed it. But I actually learned things that I'm like, that is stuff I could probably apply to my own life. It should be. And I think some of those basics of, like, are we teaching it all in high school? Are we listening in high school?
Right.
We've got probably a little more assets, or maybe we have things that are a little bit tighter now in our 20s and 30s and 40s. We should probably go back. I actually highly recommend more people come and participate in these webinars.
Well, I mean, you're educating and empower them to be able to own it. Yeah. Right. Like, you're just not providing housing.
Right.
Like, you're providing their ability to be sustainable. That's amazing. What would you say? Is there any myths or misconceptions about, like, Habitat for Humanity that you often have to correct? Like, what do you hear?
Nick, of course, we don't give away the house.
All right.
There is no such thing as a free house. In fact, that was one of the most important things about the way this program works.
So you get that a lot, that they think that you're giving a house away. Wow,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's a shame. The other one is that we're not the Humane Society. We're not doing habitat for animals and
gotcha
and so forth. That's another one that I chuckle over.
Oh, so they capture the habitat piece as, like,
yes, environmental.
I see.
Yeah, which is a very hot topic. I think there's actually I think this has been correcting a little bit lately. As Lancaster-Lebanon Habitat for Humanity has been getting a little bit more active in building and expanding its projects. We were actually in the middle of a 5-year building cycle where we're going to be, by the end of next year, completing 30 homes for 30 families. It's called the Open Doors Project. Okay. So, but yeah, I think more people are realizing that we are building homes. I mean, if I had to simplify it into one thing for somebody, what do? We make first-time home buyers.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what? So from Lancaster County and Lebanon County, we talk about affordable housing all the time. Why is affordable housing so important, right? Like, it's a topic that comes up so frequently in a lot of conversations.
Yeah. So it's popular right now in large part because affordable housing is also starting to affect the middle class. It's not just low income families. It's anybody that wants to buy a home. There's just not enough houses on the market with the right number of bedrooms, with the right scale, and what you need. Does it need to be huge? Well, that's why we got a lot of huge houses that may be on the market, or they're older houses that may be needing a lot of work and may not be worth it to you. What's the most affordable house? It's the one you're already in, most likely. People are not willing to move around and provide some of that. Like I was saying, Pew was saying that we're 45th or so in the country of adding new units because of our local zoning restrictions. Right. It's just making it difficult to add new homes. But it's hard for folks that want to own their first home to be able to get access because of the home prices, which is stretching their budget, and the interest rates. And we have a lot of folks that that want to just downsize in some of these other houses that may be smaller, more affordable. It might be ripe for some first-time homebuyer opportunities if economics were different, but they're able to bring in cash deals and pay more than that, and that elevates prices too. because of the scarcity.
Or like Airbnb now, I hear that there's a whole big trend of people buying homes, which then takes it away from first-time buyers.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that makes basically it takes the number of units and slims it down, because then there's fewer available units now that they're rentals for short-term rentals.
Wow.
Yeah, it does that kind of pressure too. I don't know. I think if we were able to successfully build and the interest rates of credit was available, more liquid, then it probably wouldn't be quite the same thing. But Airbnb's verbos are definitely a factor, but I'm not sure if we were doing things right and able to build appropriate at scale to meet the demand, that would matter. But that's my gut telling me. I don't really know.
If you talk about like your volunteers and you talked about kind of like donations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you get anyone ever to like gift their home that then becomes somebody else's?
We used to.
Ah,
I think home appreciation's been too great for anyone to do that. In fact, it's been very difficult to get homes donated for that very reason. When I was shopping at the beginning of this 30 for homes for 30 families project, we only had 7 houses or sites to be able to redevelop, and so we need a lot more, both in Lancaster and Lebanon. And I remember going around looking at a list of houses that were under enforcement by the municipality, and I'd go by and I'd see that they're probably doing this in a weekend warrior style of trying to fix it up. Definitely a lot of work. You'd see new windows inside the house getting ready to be put in and stuff, ladders. So they were in progress, and they knew that because of the way the house prices after post-pandemic were going up, why offer it to Habitat or donate it? They weren't going to take my price because they knew they were going to be making more in the equity alone. So it just wasn't even something on their radar to offer. And I think that's also holding back some houses from going on the market right now.
That's a rough thing, especially since you have the volume and the ability to do it and not to be able to get the home itself.
Yeah. Which is where I'm really, really grateful for our donors that have been willing to help provide for this project and meet the challenge despite these things. And we've been able to acquire the sites for 30 homes. Although I'm going to be on the buying spree soon to do the next
Wow.
phase.
Yeah, it's
like I said,
never ending, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk about, like you talked about Habitat thrives like on partnerships. So you talked about with like churches and businesses and schools. Like what does the partnership look like? Like is it?
Yeah. So with our churches, they love doing faith builds. And what that might be is it might be a whole house sponsorship. Highland Presbyterian
Really? Okay.
came in and funded $75,000 for a house on Howard Avenue.
Wow.
In the city, and it was their project. They were the lead. We had some other state and federal money I think we poured into it.
Okay.
But $75,000 was all of them.
Really?
And
cool.
and then we'll do other smaller faith builds where it'll be a week or something where the church will do a complete takeover, or maybe a couple weeks on a site, and getting doing both the sponsorship where they're doing a collection as well as coming out, and again bringing people together and coming into neighborhoods that may not have otherwise. So, and they get to work alongside with a home buyer too. It's kind of fun, learning some new skills.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, so that's the faith side. And some will just do general collections. Some of the congregations are older and not comfortable coming out.
Okay.
They might come and do the restore and retail side, which might be a gentler, and I actually kind of like that experience. I love the hectic environment there. Hear me talking, kind of get that sense. But with our corporations, we'll do neighborhood assistance partnership funding, which is a tax credit. And because we're doing affordable home ownership, it's a 90% tax credit. So it also, we'll talk about this later.
Wow.
So we've got a number of corporations that have, like BR Kreider, that site work company. Great partners, long-standing partners. Benchmark Construction. They've been commercial builders that you see their banner downtown. A lot of facilities. They'll be helping out as well, and they'll even lend their expertise with their staff and personnel on our committees.
Wow.
And they'll have whole takeovers. We're also doing Women Build Week. First one's coming up in the middle of September. There's still room, and I think it's like $25 for an individual to come sign up and contribute for that day.
That's awesome.
And we'll do corporate sponsorships too. So we're still looking for a handful of sponsors that want to help out. At the beginning of November, we're going to do the Lancaster Women Build Week, and that one will be at that project across from Turkey Hill
That's
Experience.
neat.
Yeah.
Do any of like the CTCs or Thaddeus Stevens, did they ever get involved, or is it because they have their own projects themselves?
Usually they're working on their own projects. However, I would love to be able to get to and I know Gene Duncan and others would love to figure this out with us too. Getting the timeline of our projects to work out with their academics. I think I've got a house that might be able to work out with them, so I got to follow that.
Yeah, because they're always working on different timing and everything.
Well, they've got their academic lessons and so forth, and certain things I want to meet in the curriculum, and I want to be able to. Well, Habitat wants to be able to serve that home buyer on their buying and selecting schedule.
I see.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's amazing to find out all about this. Let's talk about kind of round out with your family. So you say you're a family man. So you have 2 children.
Yes.
And did the kids follow in your same passion for this type of servant leadership?
They are definitely fans of Habitat, and they are definitely all about the mainly because I probably preach it to them quite frequently about the most important thing isn't about what you do at the end of the day, but how is everybody taken care of in the work they're doing. So my daughter's a very big tennis player. So what is the kindness and saying thank you and so forth to the coaches and their players and hitting partners and so forth. We homeschool too, so we have a passive schedule and stuff. And my son with his art and his teachers and so forth, the thank you notes and the gifts and so forth, to be able to show appreciation. Yeah, passing out some of my son's art, sometimes with a note and so forth. Yeah, those things are important because that gratefulness about who is helping shape and make your day, let alone making, the experience that's helping out your life. That experiential piece is so important. And I love those teachable moments about, well, why do you think that person treated you like that?
Right.
Well, I don't know if it made you feel bad. What was it from their perspective? What do you think we could do to help them? And once we get over sometimes the effect of like how we feel at the moment, looking at it from holistically around there.
Right.
Those are some of the best conversations.
It's amazing because you don't understand how much you have impact on people on a daily basis. I had a rude awakening the one time I was going to the grocery store. I was just smiling, and a man looked at me and he goes, "You know what? I needed that today." And I was like, that is unbelievable. Like you just take for granted, like the kindness that you can have every day, just a simple smile or just a simple hello. Right.
Nick, it just reminded me smiling the whole time. And I tell the story to my kids. So there was a time, I can't remember, I was out of college. I was walking through town, and the question came in my mind: if I were Jesus, who would I save? And I'm walking around, I'm looking at everyone shopping, vain, eating, gluttonous, whatever the heck it was, very judgmental. It's very cruel at that moment. And I realized, nobody, I'm not sure it's in myself kind of thing. And you realize he saved everybody. That was a gift of to everybody. If you go out there and say yes.
That's right.
And that has been the thing where I don't feel the need to eat. Forgive me. I know it's maybe I've talked to a handful of pastors, both my own and others in the Habitat family, about I don't feel the need to evangelize the same way, but I do feel the need to show the light and keep doing this work. And that's where I think it's the most important thing of find good work to do, follow through, and then keep teaching people and my kids, for example, that this is the thing we need to do. People need compassionate, empathetic, thoughtful people. And probably one of my curses is the fact that every time I find that somebody does something, that may violate somebody's ethics, I'm constantly looking, well, what was it that they missed, or what are they thinking and going through? And
was it intentional or was it not intentional? Right.
What was
the reason?
Hurt people.
Right. Yeah.
And frustrated people have been frustrated, or if it got some kind of tumultuousness.
Right.
So what is that healing, that listening,
the kindness? So yeah. I realized you just triggered something over the years. We were trying to understand why we got upset when we were here in the organization, right? Like as a business. And every time that we sat down, this was prior to us solidifying this, and we started writing it down. We said, oh my goodness, these are really our core values. And every time that we feel that our core values have been like tested or we're not in alignment, it's okay that we're not in alignment, but that's not how we believe we should serve people. And so we really realized that, oh man, we were doing undue service, because when we were emotional about it, we really felt like why were we emotional? And it was finally a moment of, well, we better live these core values, and we better incorporate those properly in the business to really, if we want that to follow through, right? Like, because you always see kind of mission-based organizations, right? People love the mission, but I'm like, we're not a nonprofit, but how can we bring that same serving in? And we really found out, it's difficult over the years, right? You get a lot of criticism for standing up for what you believe in. Not that you're preaching anything, but putting we before me and going beyond the status quo, is just natural human being activities, and just some don't necessarily want to do that.
Yeah.
And we kind of realized that the hard way. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that comes from the faith component of kind of, my goodness, by the end of the day, Christ died for everybody else's sins, and he was killed, right, for doing everything that he was trying to do to help others. And it's still, at the end of the day, he ends up on the cross. Right?
Yeah.
And
Nick, can I share a little bit about the guy that started Habitat for Humanity?
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't get to talk about him too much. One of the myths is that Jimmy Carter, former president, started the organization. He was just our greatest spokesperson. The person that started Habitat for Humanity is a guy named Millard Fuller.
Okay.
And his wife, Linda. But Millard was the real force. And he was a Atlanta, Georgia trial attorney. He made a lot of money. And in the 60s, he, it was late 60s, early 70s, he decided to give it all up. He was frustrated. He didn't feel like he was doing the best things and the right thing. And so he quit and then kind of decided to go on a little journey of figuring out what he was going to do. And he was going to go visit some friends. One of the many stops he made was in Americus, Georgia. Very small town. And this is definitely in the 60s. And met with, and in Americus is a farm called Koinonia that was started in the 50s by a man named Clarence Jordan. It was a biracial commune, farming together. And think of this as the Deep South.
Wow.
Blacks and whites farming and working together in this Christian community. And they had crosses burned there. They had a lot of violence surrounding them. Some people, historians have called it the backwaters of the civil rights movement that happened around there. And so Millard came in just to have lunch with a friend, ended up hanging out with them for a little while and meeting Clarence and staying all week.
Really?
They culminated later on with a letter from Clarence Jordan to Millard that characterized the notion of what they had captured, everything they've been talking about for now, I guess maybe a year or two, around a fund for humanity. And it would bring people together and fund the next project. And it wasn't really centered on housing per se just yet. But
it was sustainability.
Yeah. And it was also the fact that nobody would get anything for free, but they would all be contributing and helping, kind of like the commune idea that he had in Koinonia Farm. So time went on, and Millard and Linda were out in then Zaire, Democratic Republic of Congo today, in Africa, and they built the first Habitat house. They came back, and Millard would get on top of the table. And back in the United States, code enforcement wasn't quite what it is today, and there were shacks. And he would get up on top of a table and shout at the churches or the picnic or whatever the fundraising opportunity was, "No more shacks." And it was this passionate thing. And he would come out and do marches in these communities and start and to bring attention to the state of affordable housing, which may have not always been affordable, but it was definitely slummy back in those days. Things have improved in that respect, but now all these local Habitat affiliates have started out. They all had different logos, different models and stuff, but they were still doing the low-income families, sweat equity, and the need for housing and affordable mortgage. Zero interest, by the way, at the time. So it's still is with us. And that was the movement. In fact, Edgar Stace I mentioned, who was one of the guys that helped us set up the first restore. And he was on the Habitat for Humanity International board. And on September 11th, he got a phone call from Millard, too. This is just goes the extent of Millard's passion. He goes, I want to talk to you about your gift for Habitat. And he said, Millard, should you really be making this phone call today? And he goes, I know what's going on, but as long as the water's up and the sun's coming up, I'm still going to be fundraising. He wasn't going to get stopped. So.
It is true, right? Like, I have the opportunity each year, and I go kind of in retreat, right? Go to retreat. And I left the retreat and it said, find your purpose. And I'm like, man. So like, I connect Catholic faith as well and connect to like, what is your purpose? Why am I here? What did God put me here for? And so, of course, he doesn't write that down and tell me exactly how to do it. But it's an everyday thing, right? Like, are you serving the people that you're supposed to serve, or are you giving back in the way that you should? Or are you having the most impact? And I really realized, because what you said earlier is like, man, the small things matter, right? I mean, I had a big thing starting the business, and I went to my priest and I said, man, it says like, I feel guilty that I'm making money. And he goes, well, hold on. He goes, God has given all of us different talents and treasures. But I want you to understand that you might have a talent to be able to do that, but what are you doing with it, right? And so there's always lessons learned, but it's just interesting, the small things that have the biggest impact that you never know, right? Yeah. Well, as we kind of wrap up the session today, do you have any parting feedback or comments for the listeners today?
Yeah, it's going to sound kind of funny, but one of the biggest lessons I got to learn from, I've worked in advocacy and policy and housing stuff. And one of the things I really wanted to figure out by coming on this adventure to help run a Habitat affiliate and now running a Habitat for Humanity affiliate is all those limitations. I used to think that, or wonder, well, why can't we just build more homes, solve that project, solve the problem by making the case, getting enthusiasm. And it's amazing the level of all the complexity of things that are out there that are outside of our control, that we are just trying to bring the Venn diagram a little tighter for alignment, or building bridges, or paths. And a lot more of it is money that I think I ever realized before, and some of those limitations. And sometimes it's an alignment of just so many other policies and systems that need to be brought in. And I felt weakened by that, I think, when I finally started realizing and seeing that, because I'm like, okay, there's a threshold that or a limitation that really is there. Not just, what is the limitation that is going to hold us back from having to help more families? But I'm starting to realize that this is the battle of everybody that is trying to work on a good business, with your connections and your clients and so forth, and the resources you guys have and knowledge. We're all trying to bring these connections to make better outcomes.
Yeah.
And I think the notion of quality, the money and the conversations to make quality is what has to be kind of like the focus of what we're aiming for all the time, because the quality of those conversations can help bring the resources, usually a lot of more of the cash, to be able to help do some of the land development, so forth, hire the right people, or whatever those land acquisition and so forth. But the quality of those conversations are what's going to lay the ground foundation for us to be able to build higher and more and go further out. So
that's amazing. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah. Thanks, Nick.
So as we wrap this up today, that's another chapter of Servant Leadership Library. Huge thank you to Andrew, a family man, a housing advocate. I love that. And the kind of leader who proves that you don't need a hard hat to build hope, just a big heart. So in today's conversation, we reminded you that leadership isn't about the corner office, but about the corners in your community. Then you've checked out the right book. I'm your host, Nicholas Paulukow, CEO of One-to-One, reminding you that whatever it is, technology or timber, security or shelter, it all comes down to building something worth protecting. So until next time, keep leading, keep serving, And don't forget to return your library books on time.